Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends. These are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, I'm so excited about my guest today. This is going to be so great. She says she's deeply passionate about making a positive impact in the community. For the past 5 years, she's organized a pop-up barbershop at a local homeless shelter where they restore individuals' dignity one haircut at a time. She recently became engaged in local civics by running for Dallas County Judge. She said she believes it is our duty to serve our communities and seek opportunities to make positive impacts. So you guys are going to be in for a real treat today. I'm so excited to chat with her and get her on here and learn about what she's doing. But before we do that, I need to do a quick shout out to our sponsor. So today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube films, photography work, or a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, you're going to want to go to photosbywalt.com. All right, I'm so excited. Get Lauren on here today. So Lauren Davis, a mother of 3, wife of 18 years, is a serial entrepreneur. Listen to this, guys. She's the co-founder of the Gents Place luxury membership-based barbershop, Rascal men's grooming product line, Operation Gentleman 501c3 supporting veterans and the homeless. And then she recently launched a media company called For the Love of Dallas, where she highlights those giving the most precious resource, time. So Lauren, welcome to the show. I am so thrilled to have you here today and to learn about you and what you're doing to make a difference. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity and for having me.
This is going to be so much fun. So you've done so many great things, and I love that it's like serial entrepreneur, right? Like so many of us have so many things going on in our world. It's like we just have all these little things that are happening. And I think it's so much fun to be able to have the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, it really is. And that's also why I started the show For the Love of Dallas, because I just realized as I've gotten older and it feels like I have less time, because I'm split in different directions, that time is really our most valuable resource. And also, trying to run for public office and run our nonprofit seeking donations, financial donations, and realizing like the span of people's financial success, $10 can be like someone's $100,000. And it just started to really make me think about when people give their time, that's just something that there's a definite beginning and end, 24 hours in a day. And when I've seen people just give like the vast majority of their time over, I just started to think about it differently. So it is a privilege to get to spend our time in any way. And being an entrepreneur allows me to spend it very freely, which I think is just so precious.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And I think, from mom to mom, I think we both can recognize, the importance of that, because my kids are adults now. But, when I started in the entrepreneur space, my oldest daughter was 18 months. And so I've been very privileged to be able to have that time, right? To be with them as they were growing up. And it's so funny now because like I've always been busy, but I think like my youngest is now really realizing that like I'm doing a lot of things. And I'm like, dude, I've been doing them all along. I think you just gotten used to it. And now Mom is kind of like branching out. And I'm like, this is my time to like do the things I need to do, because I've been the mom and been home and had to do, put the kids first and stuff. So I agree with you that time is precious. And I think as we get older, our priorities change and how, we look at things very differently. And so I think, it's, putting the time in the right place, right? Like putting our energy where it needs to be. And that's what's great about being an entrepreneur.
It is. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you everything has a light and a dark side, and being an entrepreneur and having to make payroll in that way and the execution that's needed, all the things. It's not like my husband just said the other day, I was like, oh, I want something like I want a house in the mountains. We don't have any second houses. I want a house in the mountains. And, some of my friends do. And he was like, if you're going to pick and choose parts of people's lives, you have to take their whole life, Lauren. And I was like, oh man, that's so true. And we thought about that for a minute, and it's just like where, with the entrepreneurial thing, yes, we have freedom of our time, but we also have the burden of the heaviness and the weight and the stress that comes with entrepreneurship. But that's literally an in everything in life. And I just thought that was, so funny and very childish of me to say and him to say it, but it's like something that you constantly need to remember.
Yeah. And it's good that you said that. Yeah, it's good that you said that, because I do think one of the mentors that I've been working with, he said that, in your business, if you don't have a fire burning, you really don't have a business, right? So I think that, you have to look at all the parts of this and take the good and the bad with it, because, and that's the one thing I always talk about on this show is that, I always hashtag this real talk, right? Because I think a lot of times we get into, I came from the network marketing space and I was in that industry for 22 years, and a lot of times I'm not knocking network marketing, because I know incredible people that have done really well, and I featured them on this show, and I did well in this. I won several cars. I say won. I earned several cars, but I think sometimes we gloss it over, right? Like we gloss the entrepreneurship over, that it's all roses, and we're like, no, there's no pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. I mean, if you work hard, there is, but you need to work hard to make that happen. It's not just gonna pop up, right? Like you have to take the good with the bad, as you're saying, all parts of the life,
Yes, all parts of it. There's always sacrifice involved in that, to receive the reward, always.
Yes, yes. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now, because I said all this in here. You've got this luxury membership-based barbershop, and you're doing this. You've got this 501c3 going on. You've got this product line. So give us a little rundown on what this is that you've got going on here.
Sure. So our primary business that drives basically, everything we do, puts the food on our table, gives us this access to do other things, is the Gents Place. So my husband and I started together when we were 25, so almost 15 years ago. This barbershop concept, right? So barbershop concepts were starting to pop up. So it's kind of like a country club meets barbershop meets speakeasy. So it's an expanded concept. We take more square footage than other places. When guys walk in, they feel like you can even see a barber chair when you walk in. It's a very classic, lots of dark stained woods and natural materials and very minimalist, but very classic design. And so the whole thought there was to just elevate that chore in life, right? It's kind of a chore for men to get their haircut. It was for my husband. I mean, it's kind of not for us. We all typically like going to the salon. But that wasn't necessarily the case 15 years ago for men. They didn't have their own space like that. And so I just said, I want a company that I have 2 boys, and I want to build a barbershop that I would be proud to send them. And a lot of times when it's male focused, it's gimmicky, it's over sexualized. There's places that I call like Hooters for haircuts, which, to each their own. Like I get it. It's not knocking anyone's thing, but it's just not, where I'd want my husband going. Or where I'd want my boys going. And so I wanted it a place that emphasized and accentuated and exaggerated the best parts of a man, the best parts of their masculinity, and helped send them out being better fathers and CEOs and heads of households and things, because we all have an influence on each other. And speaking of time again, these gentlemen are spending 30 minutes to an hour with us. It is our obligation, one, as a Christian person, to send someone out of our establishment better than when they came in. And so that's the essence and the core of that business. So what branched off of that is our nonprofit Operation Gentleman. We do a once a year suit drive. So that's coming up in September. You can bring gently used suits, men and women, into our clubs, all across the country. We have, I think, 12 locations open, from Chicago to Bentonville, Arkansas, to San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Kansas City. And we take those down to Fort Hood, which is one of the largest Army bases here in Texas and in the country. And we do a whole shopping event for the Soldier Recovery Unit. And those are soldiers that are transitioning out for medical reasons out of the military, getting their first civilian jobs. So sometimes we're giving them their first civilian suits, which is very expensive and a huge help. So that's our primary. And then we do a pop-up barbershop for the last 5 years at Austin Street Centers, one of the largest homeless shelters here in Dallas, Texas, which is so rewarding. Taking that journey with people, a haircut is sometimes the first hurdle they have to overcome. Because if you think about it, if your hair is dirty and matted and not well groomed, like, good luck on that job interview. Right? It's things we take for granted that we have access to, and they don't. So we provide that service there once a month. amazing. We love it. People from the whole industry. It's not just Jen's place. People from the whole industry come. And I'm partnered with my friend Samantha. She has a project called Sincerely You Project. And she's been passionate about, highlighting the stories of the homeless since she was a teenager. And then my podcast that I'm doing that kind of came out of my civic engagement. When I got to experience like meeting so many people and all the great things they do. And I was like, wow, regardless of your political party and how much the world is trying to tribalize us right now, I found so many commonalities between myself and others out there. And the one thing was our faith. Wherever you're in the faith, I've met some amazing Jewish people and other many faiths, including Christian, and people who volunteered their time. They were service oriented. And the second you related on service, because I'm very big about jails. I'm also working a project with another organization called One Community USA, putting the first ever barber college inside a jail so that people can get fully licensed before they leave. It's that when you care and want to serve the community, really nothing else matters. Really doesn't. And so that's what inspired me to do that show, and just one of my great learnings from getting civically engaged, which was very eye-opening and exciting.
Yeah, so, I want to come back to that in a few minutes, but
yeah, that's the rundown. No, that's the rundown of what I've got. And there's a few other things in between, but that's the bulk of what I spend my time on.
I love it. I love this. And I do want to ask you, because I think this is so interesting. I love to get into the minds of entrepreneurs, especially people like you guys, because I think you're a lot, I don't like to compare people, but I say there are a lot of us that are like this, that we get this idea, sort of, we have this big umbrella of things, right? And it branches out into all these other things. And I always tell people, like mine, I'm a work-life strategist. I'm certified in life coaching, but I have, 22 years in business. So I hybrid the two. And then I have my podcast and my book, and all these things are really just extensions of kind of the big message. Right. Yeah. But I think it's like we have this core purpose, like this core thing. And I think I think many of us share the same thing, is that we're trying to serve other people. We're trying to find a way to reach more people and make a difference in their lives, right? We just have different vehicles that we use to do that. So I love what you're doing. And I love that it's really spanned out into these other things for you, because when you tie it all together, you can see the big umbrella of what you're trying to do with all of it. I think that's what I love. What I want to ask you, though, I think is kind of fun, is I always love to ask this question when I get people like this, because your husband and you are doing this together. So were you guys, and I'm going to ask you specifically, like when you were young, did you have sort of this entrepreneurial spirit as a child, or did this just kind of evolve out of something for you?
I guess, so my husband and I have been together since we were 16. We met in high school. So, when you grow up together like that, your passions and your worlds sort of, intertwine and grow together. And I think he was the primary entrepreneur in our life venture together. And I'm kind of entrepreneur by force, by support, because I'm never going to tell him, no, you can't live your dream. And, he left a big corporate job that had all the things to do this. And I was 100%, 50% part of that decision, right? Like he wasn't going to do it if I opposed it, but I couldn't imagine a world where I did, because I saw his vision of what he wanted for our family and our life. Our middle son, who's had multiple open heart surgeries, was a genesis of kind of that thought of needing to be in complete control of our time and our life and our destiny. But I would say my true nature is more of a rule follower. But as I've become my adult woman self, I've become a little more rebellious, so less like wanting to conform. And so I think my natural state was more of like I like to take risks. I like to take big shots. I want to do something different. I don't want to conform necessarily, but kind of my maybe nature that I was raised in caused me to be more cautious. So being with him brought out that side of me, and now I really can't go back. But I do probably desire more certainty than he does in life. It's like he has more tolerance for it, and I just like tolerate it.
Gotcha.
So it's a blend, but I love it and I appreciate it, and I would never change it. But had I not been taken on this journey through his primary role, because, we had kids young too. So I was primary mom when we were in the depths of entrepreneurship. So, our roles have kind of shifted and moved over time. But had I not had his influence, I probably would have been like, a standard great employee in a company, because I love to work hard. I have that work ethic that you need to have to be an entrepreneur, but I probably wouldn't have fully started my own thing separate from him. Yeah. So it's a fun blend and a partnership.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I know. And I think that's great, because I think there are certain challenges that come with, couples working businesses. So I think it's great that you guys have found that, right? And I think that the important thing there is there's so much to take away from that, because I think your kids are learning incredible lessons through all of this. I mean, I always say more is caught than taught. So they're learning incredible lessons through this. But, I think also the support that you're lending, I think that, in this, because entrepreneurship's not, we've already said this, several times already. It's not an easy ride. It's a roller coaster. No. I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs, right? And I think if you are in a relationship where you have that support, oh my gosh, you can do incredible things. When the two of you are partnered up and you can go at this together, this is why you guys are having the success that you're having, is because you partnered up, even if that wasn't your natural thing. And I like how you said by force, it was by force. It worked out, and so I commend you too for that, because I think that's, it's obviously serving you well. So, and it is.
And roles have changed. Yes. And roles have changed over the years, and we know where our strengths and our weaknesses are. And we just try to grow at the same pace. In life, just in general, it keeps us on the same track together, and sometimes I'm stronger than he is in certain areas, and sometimes he's stronger than me, but we just, work at maintaining that balance. And when we feel things getting out of balance, we just do our best to reset. We have weekly date nights. Every week we try to just constantly do our best to stay on the same page, because it is a roller coaster and you can get off track so fast and not even realize it. You kind of look behind a couple of days and you're like, oh no, how'd that happen? So it's not easy being in business together, but, it's certainly worth it.
Yeah. Good for you. That's awesome. Well, and speaking of, I do want to talk about the fact that you ran for judge, because you mentioned nonconformist, and I like that word because I am a nonconformist, and you were totally speaking my language. I am just not very good at rules. If the rule is stupid, I'm not very good at that. So coming from you, I would really love just to share a little bit about kind of, what led to that and what your journey, you don't have to go into major detail, but give us just a little bit of what led you to that and how that was for you.
Sure. Yeah. The high level of it is prior to COVID era. I call it, I would have considered myself, more of a conformist, more of a rule follower with a little bit of rebel in me, like minority rebel, high level of need, little in there, high level need of certainty. And when COVID happened, and we owned barbershops, so we were part of the industry that was completely shut down, that took us inside out. And so that took my, it was a journey, because like I said, I'm a rule follower. So I did all the things. We shut our businesses down. We did all the things. And when I started to just really peel back the layers of what I saw and my experience happening and how it felt to have the government in my life in such a heavy way, it just caused me it brought out in me the rebel and the nonconformist. And so in that parlayed into wanting to run for a county judge, because one of the primary issues was medical freedom. My son has to access life-saving surgery, intervention through medical means for the rest of his life. So I am so invested in trusting our medical community. I can't not trust it. Like that puts me at a level of uncertainty in my life that I cannot handle. So I'm an action-oriented person. That's another part of why our entrepreneurial partnership matches, because I take action. I don't just sit and complain. And so I said, well, then I'll do something about it. I don't like how the county judge in Texas is county executive, right? It has nothing to do really with judge. We're not in a court or anything like that. So it's a county executive, and they have the emergency management powers locally. And so when I saw that being kind of used indiscriminately and picking and choosing and the way it was handled, I just said, I won't stand for it. And so I barely was a voter at that time. Like, I was not engaged, and that just like,
yeah.
Put me in. I had never voted in a primary before. I'd never put a political sign out. It was so apolitical, nauseating. You know, it was like, you know, someone had asked me, you know, whatever, who's my local congressperson? I'd be like, you know, what's that? I mean, I'm part of that generation, just did not know. And I felt just so compelled to be part of the process and do something. And I just went big. It just all sort of fit these weird extremes in my personality. And I just thought, why not? And once you've gone on this entrepreneurial journey, you realize it's not one big action. It's a series of small actions, and you just figure it out. And so we've done that so many times. It didn't feel too crazy. It looked crazy from the outside, but for me, it was a natural progression, a natural step. And so I did it, and it was eye-opening. It was brutal. People hated me, and people love me. It gave you just extremes that life has to offer, and you can't get attached to any one of them. And then you also realize how big of a show all of it really is. It's such a show. It's so much theater on both sides. It, like, what we think we know is things people would say about me, things they attack our business. You're like, you just made that up. And there are people in this world who are just willing to make it up. And it's bizarre, but it's such a growing experience. I wouldn't take it back. I mean, the public speaking was awesome. The meeting people was awesome. The standing up for something I believed in was awesome. Facing fears was like out of this world. I mean, I was not a public speaker before, and then I'm getting in front of thousands of people. It was just so ridiculous. At times I'm like, look at my husband, I'm like, what am I doing? What did I get myself into? Once you're in it, you just got to get through it. So it was cool. I lost. I won the primary, which is cool. That was super cool. And then I lost the general, but you know, there's no losing when you take chances. So I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm listening to you, and while you were doing this, I always joke about this because there's these moments in my show where somebody will tell me something. I sort of get the chills because I'm like envisioning this and I can hear your passion, you know, coming through. And I think, like when there were a lot of things that happened during COVID that pulled a lot of us out of being apolitical, right? Like I myself didn't do what you did, obviously. And I applaud you and commend you and bravery for that,
Crazy.
you know, but there was so much stuff that happened during that time that it made a lot of us come out and get aware of what was going on. Right. And I obviously didn't know you then, and I didn't know about, you know, you having the barbershop and stuff. I did follow, you know, Shelley Luther's stuff. I followed her. I actually got to meet her. You know, it was funny because I went to go do a podcast on Shemaine Nugent's podcast, and she happened to show up the same day. So I got to meet both of them on the same day and followed her journey. But there was a lot that happened that really pulled us out. And so I love that you said, you know, you weren't a public speaker and you sort of got thrown in this. And I think, you know, when we take situations like this and pull this into the entrepreneur space, I think a lot of times there's really no preparation for all of this stuff, right? Like you get passionate about something, you do it, and you learn as you go. And when we sit and try to prep everything out, we're not necessarily, I mean, yes, there is a certain amount of preparation that we have to do, but sometimes we just have to be open to say that these things are going to come in and we're going to grow through this stuff that we're going through. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%. There's really no way to prepare other than just, committing to taking every lesson there is to take out of all of your experiences, good or bad. You just can't place too much judgment on them, you know, because life happens. Like already, you know, it's like what's in front of you. How are you going to deal with it? What are you going to take from it? And if you're just committed to taking something good from everything, regardless, that's the preparation you need for the next phase of life. Because I have a firm belief that God is always preparing us, even when it looks like we're totally down in the dumps, losing on all sides, nothing's going right. It's preparation. And I really learned that lesson because I wasn't raised Christian. You know, I've just come to learn these things just through life. and getting stronger in my faith is that the story of David and Goliath. Like when I had read that as a more awake person, I realized that wasn't, his time, David's time in the fields where he was thrown out, quote, thrown out, right, to tend to the sheep, tend to the flock because he wasn't big and bold and soldier like his brothers. One could look at that and be a victim and say, oh, nobody loves me. My parents don't love me. They don't appreciate me. I'm the smallest of my family. But God was preparing him to take out a large predator with what he had, a slingshot and a rock on one shot. He was doing it day in and day out. So when he arrived to that battlefield, he was like, oh, I got this. I do this all the time. And other people are looking at him like it's completely foreign. Like, how could you? And it's like, oh, duh. I've been prepared. But if you don't take those opportunities and you refuse and resist the lessons, you suffer so much more. And I've just learned that. I've learned that through resisting and suffering, and I've learned it through leaning in and taking the opportunities. I've learned it through both, through doing both. And it's just been a guiding principle in my life. And some days I do a real good job of it, and then some days I do a terrible job. Some days I'm just like all resistance and just suffer my way through the day. It's not perfect. And I would never want to portray it that way. But if you're guided by trying to pull the lesson out, that's true preparation.
Yeah. It's so great that you brought up the story about David, because I was at, I'm sure you know John Maxwell. He's a former preacher. Love John Maxwell. I've read so many of his books. I just bought his latest book, and in the network marketing space, we talked about him for many, many years. So I just think he's great on leadership. And I always talk about, he says everything rises and falls on leadership, but I got invited to go to, my husband and I went to Gateway Church a couple weeks ago because we got a last minute invitation that he was speaking at Gateway. And I was like, we're there. Like, I had never seen him live. We're there. And so in his sermon, of course, when he speaks, he brings leadership into it. He always finds a way to bring his leadership, and so he was talking about these different, like Esther and Rebecca. And then he talked about the King David story, which was the last story, and he was making it applicable. And the thing he was talking about is, don't put people into boxes. Limitations don't stop you. And that was kind of the story. Of course, he made it kind of fun. I was telling someone today about that story. He made it kind of fun. Like, as parents, we were trying to pick which son is going to be the son that's going to be picked. And then they find out it's the one that they didn't think was going to get picked, got picked, And so it's a great story. And it's the one out of all the ones he talked about that I remembered the most, so it's a great story.
Good story. It's my favorite. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm still a growing Christian, so I don't know all the stories, but of all the stories I've heard, it's my favorite because there's so many angles to it. There's so many lessons to take from it. There's so many. It's so rich in life lessons and specifically in leadership and entrepreneurship, taking chances, using your skill set you've had experience with, not being afraid to take chances, being confident in how God's prepared you. I mean, there's so many lessons. Like, you could build a great life around that one story.
Yeah. This has all been great. I do want to ask you kind of a fun question, because I haven't asked this one in a while, but I think I want to see what you say on this, because I think you've said so many things. You've given like so many nuggets and advice. And it's like, I was going to say, what's been the hardest thing you've done? Like, what has been like, what can we take away? You've said so many great things here already that I think have said this. What I would like to know is if you had to sum up like your journey so far, maybe in a couple words, what would you say?
Gosh, that's a good one. I'd say so far, like the theme so far, and I hope I get to experience another thing that would be really cool to advance in my life, is I've been an overcomer. So I've been served up so many things to overcome. I have to know and assume that's for preparation of an opportunity like King David saying, I'll step up. And one would think it would have been maybe that campaign, but it wasn't, because I didn't win, right? I'm not in that position. So it's like I'm being served so many opportunities, and I'm just trying to earn my way to the next theme of life, which, the ultimate goal, in my opinion, is to get into a place where I'm in full contribution mode, where my entire day revolves around how I can contribute to the world and other people's lives, based on the life I was given. So yeah, I would say that. I would say, it's really overcomer. And it's been a privilege to get these opportunities. They haven't been easy.
Yeah.
One's losing my dad young. That was he was struggled with alcoholism and died drinking and driving. The last time I ever saw him was my high school graduation. He was just, he showed me love and pain combined. The person I love the most is the little girl, and her daddy also caused me some of the most pain I've felt in life. So learning to deal with that. But I was just talking to someone in a meeting before now, and I realized what that's done in my homeless work, and then getting to be in the public light, is that I learned, like, I love the depths of humanity. I love the range that we can experience, as I've learned that your ability to experience sadness is directly correlated to your ability to experience happiness. And we cannot numb our way through life. We have to be willing to ride the full ride, not pick and choose everything. You have to be willing to go really low with yourself and with other people so that you can go really high. And I've just through everything, through overcoming, it's just made me realize that I just, I just love humanity in all of its flaws and in all of its greatness, because the second you try to undo parts of it, you miss the whole point. So that overcomer portion of my life that I'm still clearly in, has been great. And I'm just super excited, God willing, for how I'll be able to use that in the next phase.
So awesome. I think you just gave me the title to your show in that last little bit that you said. I'm like, the part that you said about the taking it all in, I'm like, dude, this is it. That's the part of that's what this whole show is about right there. The whole thing. It's taking it all, taking the good with the bad, and learning to rise above and move forward. Oh my gosh. I'm like, sometimes I do these shows, and it's so funny because I go through and I'll be like, I put them through the AI, and I'm like, okay, we got to get the theme of this. I'm trying to pull the message, of the whole show. Yeah. And I'm like, you just nailed it for me today. You just did my work for me today. So thank you.
Contribution. Awesome. Maybe I'm already moving in the right direction.
Exactly. All right, Laura, this has been great. So if maybe our audience wants to get in touch with you, they want to find out what's going on, with your organization, your work, maybe we got somebody who wants to get into that shop or whatever, where would you like us to send them?
Yes. So thejensplace.com is our business. I would love to have as many awesome men come in so we can make an impact and a difference in your life. I'm on social media for the Love of Dallas. My episodes are under all social media for the Love of Dallas. Okay. If you're more interested in my political side, you can find me on Twitter. It's where most of my political life lives. That's at Moms Love Freedom. So you might agree with me. Okay. You might not. But if you're interested in the politics side, that's where it's at. But I've found when you're a principled person and just want the best for people respect that regardless. I love debate, and I love to agree to disagree. Again, the span of humanity that involves people I don't agree with on certain things, but we live in America, and I love it.
Awesome. So, well, Lauren, thank you for all that you're doing. You're amazing. And I hope everything goes well with your son. I know you got a lot going on with that, and just keep doing
for all the
thing,
praying people listening. Yes, my son's facing his 4th open heart surgery, August 24th. So, all the praying people out there, I appreciate the thoughts and prayers, because they make a difference. They really do. You can feel it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to, like I said, commend you for everything that you're doing, and love your energy and your passion, and how you're making a difference in the community. So thank you for all of that. And like I said, keep doing your thing.
You can count on it. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to, share, because, we advance in life by sharing our stories.
I agree. And to our audience, of course, if you enjoy the show, please be sure you check us out on Apple, give us a rating over there, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We will see you next time.